Have two parts, you know.
Yeah, that's what makes sense.
And the long range wing would go on the cheetah also because most people bought that one. The tighter wing.
See, we got a new type that for production called it AG.
Right, that's what you were producing down
And
there.
that's, so that's,
Yeah, here are the drawings and engineering and certification paperwork to show the changes. All approved by the FAA.
All this means nothing to me. All I know it's necessary to do. I know that without it, like I said, there's nothing without it.
Close to 1,000 each model.
You can build.
The parts are
You
common.
can build the airplane with this without the tooling, but you got to go on tooling. So that's why we go together.
That's correct, with the type certificate and the engineering drawings, which are part of the type certificate by FAA rules. And all document certification, you could start production and build your own tools. But that would cost you $10 million bucks to get the tools.
Gulfstream spent about 7.5 on tooling back in '78.
Well, yeah, over 10 years because we built, I'm with them since '68, or was. We built 5 models, different models, including the equipment.
You went with when Grumman sold it to Gulfstream. That's when you started with him, or was it
No, he
before
was there
that?
before them.
When
You were the
I
drummer.
helped to build the first Yankee
Oh, in Cleveland.
on the final assembly, the tooling first,
He's been with them since it was a private.
68. 68.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there about the time they were shuffling Jim Beatty off in the
Right, I just
dust
happened to
someplace.
see something.
Well, I remember that. I
So,
used to travel
any
in
kind of
Cleveland in
part-
those days.
All the planes, but every piece of that part.
How have you been, Bob? How'd the meet go this weekend?
Oh, we good.
Good.
We finished seventh overall. That's real pretty good.
By the way, here are all the certification documents. And for all 5 models, 4 models rather.
Got all the tape.
Because the two-engine aircraft had a different system and was separated. And all of those
Computer.
certification documents and tests have been required by the FAA, and that cost, I don't know how much, millions to test, design and test those aircraft. I figure for all 5 models, over a period of 10 years, $50 million bucks cost to the companies who owned it to get the aircraft, the first aircraft to fly. $50 million bucks in $1970. I was there. So today, to start a brand new aircraft from scratch, it's almost impossible financially.
Yeah.
And the rules are stricter. You know, they're certified to older, not so strict rules, but still already, you know, safety conscious. As a matter of fact, I just saw the 1983 or 85 test pictures of the seatbelt problem. They fixed that
Yeah, the
problem.
Indiana Mills.
There are pictures in there. In '85, they've been out of production for 6 years, but the FAA says you got problems with your seatbelt. A heavy-set guy broke his seatbelt. So do something about it. They did.
Oh, that was the brackets.
The
The
brackets,
brackets in '85.
Right.
Right. The Indiana Mills, that was back in '78.
Yeah, I just saw the test report.
Had to get rid of the Ford Pinto seatbelt buckles.
Yeah, yeah.
They didn't have any money.
We used to go down to Ford and buy the little replacement kits to fix those seatbelts with.
Yeah, we have,
Pleased with the aircraft. We,
here and in my home,
They had
practically,
190
I would
people
think
on
all
payroll.
catalogs and some original engineering, you know, the pictures here, for example, but not all. But we have all catalogs. You can restart that operation to supply people in the field with catalogs. And also we have the new
Didn't have all the
modification on the
engineering,
AG5B.
changes on the
Yeah, I couldn't have been certified without.
And in May,
I've got a lot of,
the FAA
got one
said
step
that
that's
the
just got a
changes
lot
they
of
were making
corrections noted in it.
couldn't be
You probably found it in a trash pile, as
No,
I
I'm
did.
talking about stuff that I've had used for years,
That was,
that you discovered they.
normally that'd be about a year and a half project.
Aileron.
We got one
Four-place airplane
5 months.
77 and later with one joint.
But the FAA
They've
basically
got the
ran the
bolt
thing,
showing
and I went out there
back
and
in
they,
counterweight instead of at the inboard. The
FAA in Atlanta,
Yeah.
10 years ago, did exactly what they told us to do. They sent people over there. We crashed that, got some type certificate in September of 90. And then we started piecing airplanes. But probably the first year you went through about, well, from June of '89 to, we shipped the first airplane in October of '90. They probably had gone through 9.5 million bucks. Before they got a revenue stream started.
That's a lot of money.
The previous president, I guess chairman of the board in the beginning, Jim Cox, he modified the original A5B, the original Tiger, with some rather expensive electronic equipment.
Well, not only that, but they, and after all that was done, there wasn't a computer system, there was no way to they didn't know what the cost was. Even when we were shipping the first airplane, we had no clue what our real cost of materials was. And
I have the bill of material with me. I found it in the trash. The county dumped all our documents that we left behind because we had been told to leave and we couldn't take everything along. They dumped everything out. There was still left. But here we have the important documents. We have been instructed to pick up what would be necessary to restart the operation. That's what we did. Some unimportant stuff we left behind.
yeah,
Office furniture.
it took us about a year. It took us a good part of the year to automate, put a computer system in with shop floor reporting, with accurate bill of material, inventory, order system. So we had that starting in '92, and we still have that
Bill of
information.
material didn't exist.
Right, bill of material. The original estimate on the material of this airplane that I got, and I got him as an investor. I was with an investor group that funded it back in '89, November '89. The original estimate on the cost of the airplane was about $23,000 in material and $6,000 in labor. The actual bill of material. When we got production, we got our vendors, some vendors second sourced, and got production line going to support 8 airplanes a month. Was $62,000 in material and about $11,000 in labor.
Is it 29 and 6 was the original?
Was Jim's original
I found a copy at I believe it's 68. It says 68. And but the 62 may be correct because I looked at it the other day, Sunday, and there's some duplications.
62.4, and then you got your avionics package on top of that, depending on what avionics you put in there. And some of those avionics packages, we were selling for $139.80.
That was at the last.
Yeah, at the last. The first ones went out the door at $62.5. And I had price increases. Y'all remember those price increases? And every time we got a little more with our bill of material, we went from 62.5 to 68 to 72 to 81
To 92.
To 92.
To 110 to.
And we had a backlog on
So we
our.
have been in touch with Air More North Coast ever since the beginning of the thing.
Oh, yeah.
So you knew everything that was going on.
Well, no, not everything.
We do as much as we could find out.
Bob, tell them what the most expensive record went out of the door for what money, the Polish airplane?
244,000. And the price point on the airplane, well, right now, in the package that I did, I gave you the list price on all the competition. You know, these airplanes will sell, for in the 170 to 210,000 price today, and be very competitive. In fact,
But you can sell them.
yeah,
Well done.
depends on where you, depends on your marketing program, what your market is.
You can sell that plane all day long between 125 to 135,000.
Can't do it for that. Nobody can.
Well, you just said me back in '89 that you were getting because you said to do this.
No,
No,
that was,
in
that was only
93.
the material.
Yes, the materials.
And that was without any avionics or
Oh, I see.
That's right.
options,
Yeah.
autopilots. You
So
start
you
stacking
Start
tens of
stacking
thousands
avionics
of
and
dollars
they
in there
put
real
another
quick.
$20,000 in there.
But then if realistically, if you look at that, you guys weren't buying them. You weren't buying right in the beginning. Getting more than the way to begin. We were buying engines cheaper than you were. We were buying them onesie twosies. Purchasing department was not purchasing materials right. It was just like Grumman and Gulfstream. Gulfstream was at the last 2 years of Gulfstream. Every time they got another part in, price changed because they would order 10 of them instead of 500 of them. And 500 of them might have cost 75 cents a piece, but 10 of them cost $3.
Well, this would be the way to go, order in large quantities, if the money's there. You always save. You always save. If you have to buy like one at a time, as we did at the end of '93, the engine cost $17,000.
Now, one of the other things that I looked at, was we could have probably knocked our material cost down by 30%. We didn't make anything. It's everything, all we did is final, but it's simple. So all the parts were subbed out, and you know, you were subbed out to aircraft manufacturers who were already making parts for Boeing and all the big guys. So we were not really able to leverage our purchasing. That's what we thought about.
We made a few percent of our own simple parts
Simple.
in the machine shop, and of course the composite.
But we brought that in after we started there.
Ourselves, we got Grumman Tooling.
We brought that in after we started. We were paying $2,100 for that cowling, and then see, I brought in what I brought in was I brought in.
More, I saw the record.
$2,700,
$4,000 just for some loose parts that didn't fit.
So what we did is we brought in-house over a period of a couple of years all the operations that didn't require a lot of capital to get the equipment. But most of the stuff was still out at vendors, and they ship us the pre-ship checks and we just put it together. So you had labor rates in there of probably $30 an hour plus a profit margin of 50%.
If today you have
Not
to.
so high in Arkansas, remember?
Oh shit, Harry, you charging us $35 an hour with Logan's rate. You talking about Reagan?
The rates in Arkansas, labor rates.
Reagan, we could have bought them parts, we could have made those parts cheaper than we did.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if you had the processing equipment, because that was the killer there, was that
the
processing
equipment
equipment
needed
was
to-
extremely expensive.
To do the bonding from detail parts to final bond assembly is high.
You couldn't hardly start that up unless you had the money. I mean,
That's right.
you're looking at,
You're talking about millions again.
yeah, you're talking about a couple $1 million in capital investment to be able to do that.
For the autoclave, it's how it's
You don't
done.
need an autoclave for all parts, and all of them.
Just an
This is
oven?
all air pressure,
When they got into bonding, they were not doing any bonding in ovens until they got this project. And the first parts they did for us, they were doing it in an autoclave they already had. They built a complete bonding facility, building and ovens and layout room and everything to do the Tiger project,
the priming facility.
including the
I
priming.
was working with them for 10 months, maybe 11 months, to get them going. They make parts for 20 aircraft companies in this country, but all for heavy aircraft. They did not know how to bond the aircraft. Of course, they had a good man running the show there from Grumman, and they did not know how to do it to handle thin material. It's 16,000 the thinnest and probably 60,000 the heaviest material on an aircraft. They didn't know how to do that because they did all heavy stuff. You handle it differently. You know, pre-rolling the skins on the wing. Very important. Pre-rolling this and pre-rolling that. So I helped them to restart the operation, and they did a better job than Gulfstream. Through. You got a
Harry
better-
lived over there for a year. I sent him to Arkansas.
got a better bonding system too. It's a Boeing
So
system.
that was your main source of funds?
They built all the bondments, which is the fuselage, the wings, elevator,
What was that company?
Kimfab.
Kim.
Yeah, they want to continue
Airborne.
to build.
It was in Little Rock?
Hot
But you,
Springs.
did you say you don't need all the exotic autoclave and
No,
stuff?
not the other clip. You need
It
an
cost
oven.
you $500,000 to set up a bonding operation capable of doing everything
We cut, cost out
I
dollars
think
in
more.
US.
in the U.S. Yeah.
I think more.
Well, they spent about $300,000.
That's what I told you.
Yeah.
That would be cheap. Because well, they spent 300,000, but they had already the metal processing facility to clean it with acid and so forth. That might be $500,000, and some states will not allow you to put it out because it's dangerous. They say they had it already in operation. Then they had a little bond room, Mickey Mouse, and I complained about it's not to the spec. So they built a new bond room. They also put an autoclave in there for other projects they're working on. And I was complaining about the priming facility. You see, the metal has to be primed before bonding, and then it has to be baked. They cleared the tool shop and air conditioned it, cleaned it up, bought a new oven again in a different building to bake. For example, the priming has to be done. The man who primes it has got to be a good aircraft painter too. You're allowed to put on only
That's why the price was up for it.
half a thousandth of an inch, something like that. But then after
Today, if you have to put this in.
2 hours,
Instead of.
the numbers start to float away. After a short time, you got to go in the oven to bake. Otherwise, no good. So they spend all that money plus refurbishing our tooling. In some cases, they've been neglected, banged around. They fixed it.
Let's say about
Or
this-
they built
this
new
area,
tools
this area.
also.
I think you'd probably take a third off the cost of material. That's what best guess I could come up with while I was involved. So you'd probably, with your engine,
Looking at about maybe-
yeah, out of the 66,000, say, you got 16,000 that's easy. Can't do nothing with that. So that,
Out of that 66,000, your profit margin, on the farm out, was probably 40% profit margin.
I think somewhere between 40 and 50.
So if you just took that off,
So say 50,000, and say you're gonna save, I figure you save a third of that.
so then you're down
Why don't
35,000.
you investor go for the bank for where you're working with? Why don't you want to put together?
Because of the time food.
You want anything to do with it?
Been there, done that, right?
It was not something that we wanted to get into to manage on a day-by-day basis. It was something that we wanted to invest in and provide a return.
Right.
And,
they got the return that was in minus column.
Right.
I think you came on board in self-defense, did you?
Yeah, yeah, I was appointed.
So as of today, who's the owner of everything?
Well,
What are we talking
the
about?
ownership is split up. The type certificates and all the engineering data and all the QC data, all the certification data is owned by American General Aircraft Holdings Corporation.
Oh, I see the whole.
And that holding company is owned by some of the investors that were in American General Aircraft Corporation originally. The tooling is owned by the debtor in possession of American General Aircraft Corporation, which is in bankruptcy, which the federal trustee, U.S. trustee, has control of those assets. But what we've done is we've got an agreement approved by the court to put the tooling, put the estate's assets with the holding company's assets and market that as a package. So whoever buys it will have everything that's necessary to start up a new company.
Without that, you don't have much anything to sell.
Well,
Either party.
without that, what you got is, you've got, nobody's gonna buy the tooling without the type certification and engineering. So the holding company really is in the driver's seat on the project because the state would have scrap
Yeah.
without the other assets. So the holding company, if we couldn't have worked out this agreement, the holding company would have basically gone to the auction and paid whatever it takes over scrap value to buy the tooling.
Yeah.
And then they would have had the whole package, but rather than go through that, we worked out an agreement.
Is there any real estate involved?
No, no, but we leased the facility. That's really why the company shut down. It's because the city of Greenville canceled our lease and would not renew our lease.
Or is that what the building you were talking about?
We can drive out the airport. I'll show you what they had.
And we
They
did,
literally kicked you out of there.
they kicked us out, yeah, we moved this over a week period of time, and they wouldn't renew it. We actually had enough money committed from the investors to continue, because we were cash flowing there at the end. We were positively cash flowing on 5 airplanes a month. Okay. So we
Supposed to
waited,
do that.
right, in 93 and the last 15 airplanes. And we filed a Chapter 11 trying the reorganization petition, trying to force the city into renewing their lease.
Right.
And
With fewer buildings.
with fewer buildings, that's right, because we didn't need all that space. I mean, that was another, it was
40,000
costing
square
us.
feet. Yeah, Colonel Sutton was a huge place.
Oh, it was ridiculous, it was
We only got
costing,
737 jets in there.
Circle was costing us $30,000 a month.
$30,000 a month.
$16,000 for the lease, and the utility were running about 10.
You could have built this aircraft virtually in the toilet space you have in those
We
facilities.
could have,
It's not a building twice as big as this. You could build that.
Yeah.
and
You're
so,
right.
and so we didn't need all that space, and what I tried to get them to do after we filed the reorg was to just lease us part of that space and let us continue. And we had $2 million of bridge financing in place, and we had a $21 million commitment on public offering in place. But the city thought that they were getting the JPATS program out of Northrop into this facility here. They've been told that Northrop was getting the JPATS training aircraft program. And Northrop had signed an agreement that if they got it, they would come into Greenville. And so they didn't want us in there. I mean, we were at that time down to 65 employees, building 5 airplanes a month.
You were doing all right?
And we were doing all right, and Northrop was saying we're going to put 1,600 people out there and use this whole facility. So even though we had the financing and we had the commitment financially to continue, the city would not renew the lease, and so the judge said without a place to build it, he wouldn't approve the reorg plan. And so that was basically why we
Catch 22 situation.
What, did Northrop ever came down?
Northrop didn't get the contract, these guys.
Yeah. Cessna thought they were gonna get it too, so.
And so this facility stayed vacant out here for 2.5 years.
Who's in there now with 735?
So, Miami
Paint shop,
commercial.
or jet, something,
Leading Edge is doing the painting.
or some other.
Commercial jet,
Greenville,
commercial jet,
Greenville.
that's out of Miami. They were Miami
See, your shop is
National.
on.
They use that.
This is your quote.
But it's a fly-by-nighter. They'll fall from their lease out there.
I was just wondering if it was the Memphis group there over at Greenwood and they've
They get all the parts.
spread out all over.
Oh, at one
Yeah, we've got
time,
the
I
complete
understand
service
before we
manuals,
came
all the parts manuals,
They
everything.
call it the Boeing facility because they built it for Boeing.
Yeah.
Didn't
But
belong
don't
to
you
Boeing.
want to see the,
And they got,
go pull this part, pull this part under the files, pull that part, and give you the master plan.
FedEx, listen, if I'm correct, it's by hearsay. FedEx was interested to
This
do
is
some
just a look
building
at their
before we
attic,
got
had to
it.
be some drawing up.
And, the city said, well, how many people will you employ? So they told them. The city said, that's not enough, you don't get the building. So they have a big facility in Memphis now.
Yeah, they do.
It could have been here.
Yeah, I tried to sublease that building. I talked to everybody in the world. I talked to Beach, Bassey, I talked to FedEx, I talked to everybody that showed any interest in wanting that facility because I would sublease 90% of it.
Sure.
And still have room to build our little airplane,
I
but
try to make them a deal.
we could get it right.
But he tried to find some other places to build the airplane, and that didn't work out, outside.
Yeah, right there in the end, so we could have moved all this stuff into another space, but it had to be
So in
within
other words,
about 45 miles of Greenville, because of the labor.
Yeah.
Your labor, you couldn't retrain that labor to start over, you had to use this
For
labor.
3 years,
Yeah.
and we had a good crew when we had to shut down. The, one mistake was made by the previous, person running the
everything
show.
come together in one kit
Was,
that they were buying.
he did not listen.
No, they were buying everything,
Hired
like they
me.
were buying the glass from the place, they were buying the upholstery from somewhere else.
Just put it in.
And I was
You were
the
doing
only
your
one
own
who
upholstery
came
work
to
there, weren't you?
Yeah.
And, I said, you need.
Well,
I know you had a battery shop up there.
Yeah, we brought that in-house, we were buying that out of Sky Travel over
Super,
there.
down to the phone
Yeah.
level.
And we finally
Otherwise
bought
you're
a
in
couple
trouble.
of machines.
They
that
need to
sold
be able to
machines.
train the
Sold
local
some.
people.
Started sorting it ourselves, we could save a lot of money.
They brought in
They just
novices.
They buy the radios in, they were coming in,
So they
had a,
foreign to the
a room up there set up for their avionics and stuff.
It was,
And they were putting it in
was,
the panel, and the panel would go down as an assembly.
of course, I get asked a lot,
Just
you
bolt
know,
right in here.
people, why did
How many aircraft are flying right now?
basically,
That we built.
company, the
No,
overall,
ever
the
since
high
this
levels of
company.
the rock.
About 3,700 that they built.
It was doomed.
And 170 pounds.
Yeah, but
Running about 4,000.
when Bob got involved, we got more
Yeah, they
in the
built-
topic.
I think,
Aircraft,
they built 5,500
people,
over the
not
years.
large aircraft, small aircraft.
And they can-
The AA-5B,
Yeah.
How many planes total, 2 or 4 planes were built?
Wait a minute, I got your answer right here.
3,700.
From 79 back.
Well, there was a total of just over 5,000 total production of everything, including the Cougar, from 68 through the end of
In the
79.
one piece of paper, you have all the information of all aircraft buildings.
So actually it was a German American joint venture.
Started out at Grumman.
Except
Started out
South
American
American
Aviation. Then Grumman bought American Aviation. And then Gulfstream bought Grumman.
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 So it becomes German American.
Well, my glasses, I think it says 4,002, is that right?
4,992,
Oh, jeez.
so almost
Can't read
5,000.
very well.
That includes the Cougar.
Yeah,
Also it started out with
114.
Yankee and then went into trainer.
The numbers are accurate because we have for all the Grumman aircraft, the microfilm on 16 millimeter coverages for the documents for each aircraft built.
1/15.
I got them at home because air conditioning, heating problems, you know. That's the viewer and a copier. We can make copies of
So for all the
documents.
aircrafts you have the information.
All Grumman built aircraft from,
Plus,
No, not ours, not.
We got our,
We don't have it on microfilm.
not on microfilm, we got all the records.
Let me show you here what we got.
He's the chancellor of the exchequer.
Here, to answer your question. No, you brought it up. Our aircraft. Here are all the documents, FAA required documents, relative to each serial number that we built. And look at how neat that is.
You must get it.
Mike Jones said that.
Complete.
Yeah, for that aircraft, all work orders and necessary documents to certify the aircraft. Inspected, signed by the inspector, variations of parts, modified variations. You can fix, if something is not exactly right, we have a standard repair manual. It goes by a specification to fix a minor problem. So everything is here up to the last aircraft built.
All the aircrafts are here within the United States.
Oh, no. Matter of fact, 55% of the ones we built went overseas.
One was flown to South Africa. It was flown to South Africa.
Yeah, most of ours were ferried. The only ones that were shipped were Martinaires. We did 9 for Martinair, which is a KLM training facility in Holland. And we shipped those in containers, but the rest of them were flown.
They got them in Turkey.
Turkey. Matter of fact, we got a world record. We beat Lindbergh's record going to Paris, nonstop. That was
From
on
here?
From here, yeah.
Do you have a list of the people that you sold it to?
Oh yeah. We've got a
I
list.
think you have the list, I don't.
We had 17 international distributors and 12 U.S. distributors that had exclusive.
How many did you sell to Turkey?
Like 5 or 6.
Which one of those?
They went
They
to.
won't be on that list there.
They're not on that.
Not
But
the
they have
other
some
list.
older planes, 78s and 79s in there.
They went to
Remember-
Andula
Wait a minute,
University, I
Those
believe.
records for the Grumman build
Oh,
aircraft,
Grumman. Oh, I
those
see.
records
I see,
have
I
been
see.
put on microfilm, photographed, and I got 3 boxes, maybe 400
I
cartridges
see,
full
I
of
see.
microfilm for those.
I see. So
Those
this
records.
is one set of history, and this is the second set of history.
Right, that's the last. It's
I
the
see.
They have
original
some
right
Thailand,
here.
too.
You sold them to Thailand?
Yeah, Thai Flying Club.
How many did you sell it to Thailand?
I don't know. Couple, 3.
They
Which
had,
which one were they? Do you know which type, model?
Here's a-
Tiger. All
All
Tigers.
By the way,
all
Now,
eight.
Thailand has some old cheetahs.
yeah, well, they had, we sold them an auxiliary fuel system, 1C over there, and, probably 88.
Between their
We
records
had,
and our records, we've got just about.
We had 2 in Japan. They were,
All training.
training. Most of the ones, I'd say that 90% of the ones that went overseas were training flight schools, credit universities, governmental flight schools. And then another 10% probably just personal aircraft.
remember the total time it took to fly to South Africa, across the from Bangor to the Azores, and then along the western shores of Africa. 90 some hours.
I think the guy by the name of Cox flew that. I think he writes for one of the magazines.
Yeah, there was a big article on that flight because of the length and the single engine aircraft, the reliability. They didn't have any problems. We built that thing and they took off here and went to Bangor and all the way to South Africa and never had
It was
a.
brand new, flight tested of course, for a few hours.
No lawsuit, no accidents, no nothing.
Well, we've had a couple of accidents now, but no lawsuits.
No lawsuits.
You haven't had a serious one, have you?
Yeah, we had a fatality
Did
in
you?
Michigan.
On the AG-5B?
On the AG.
Pilot error or
Pilot error. Guy was VFR and flew into a snowstorm, and it was a whiteout. He crashed.
That happens with every airplane.
Yeah.
Those gentlemen are
In
at
fact, he was
the
with the
Yankee
tower,
Flying
that was
Club.
really documented. Tower told him not to, and he did it anyway. I mean, we got great records on that.
The design is such outstanding that hardly, not too many people get killed in our aircraft, but in the standard Cessna Pimple aircraft, that's rivets, many more people get killed because they fall apart, not ours. And they can verify those 1,300
They also
members in the
float.
club. They know that.
Almost
Yeah.
2,000
You know what?
members.
2,000,
You've seen Samoyeds, right? How big they are.
Mm-hmm.
We bought an airplane out of Hawaii, a Cheetah. These 4 Samoyeds got in it. And they took off from Honolulu International Airport. Couldn't get it out of ground effect, so they landed in the lagoon.
Well, they hit a sailboat mast
Yeah.
going across the lagoon.
And
I
landed
mean,
in the
4
lagoon.
people, and
4
the
Samoans.
Samoans, they eat lots of pork, and they weigh 250 pounds each, huh?
Yeah, they got out of the airplane, swam back to shore, and the plane floated for 8 hours. And finally somebody went out there and hooked on the nose and pulled up the boat ramp.
They had to
Pulled
wait
back
for a
across the
tank
airport.
cycle to get it in.
It's a good airplane.
Now, we got that airplane and we were looking through the history on it and trying to figure out what in the world had happened to this thing. It had some horrible
Or it
repairs
came
in
to
it.
you for,
We bought it. We bought all the fleet over there.
We bought, what, 13, 14 airplanes out of
how many do you
Hawaii?
have right now?
Together and not together.
Probably
Probably
25.
And you guys just do the refurbishment.
Yeah, but
Take them apart and put them back together.
Yep. We had one, a guy had a 2-place, landed. He thought he started porpoising, so he poured the power to it, got back off the power and went off the end of a runway, going over a road. The road was only about this much higher than the runway. And he was balanced on the nose. His eyes were about that big around. Me and the kid went down there in the truck. I had my camera laying in the seat, and I forgot to grab it, take a picture. But it was balanced on the nose for about 5 minutes.
Oh, he was stuck real good. He had the spinner just buried, and the nose gear broke back under, and he was pivoted on that, and the wingtip, and took 2 of us to push the airplane down. And he's all up in here holding on. His eyes about this big around. I says, "You okay, Carl?" And he says, "So far."
And he still had the master off. I said, "Turn the master off." He's pumping gas out of the carburetor.
Yeah. So we got up and it gave him a push, and of course it went down. I mean, he was out of that thing in a New York second.
But it didn't touch the tail. It didn't
That just
touch the tail.
bumped a little bit, did it? And
Put
we
the rope
fixed
on
the
it.
airplane.
I towed him back over. And we put
Sectioned
him
the front
on a
box.
ramp, covered him up with the tarp. Here come the helicopters from the news. That is going all over trying to find his airplane. this news guy came out and said, "I heard there was an airplane crash out there." I said, "No, there was an incident, but it wasn't a crash."
If you had a facility that was already in production in aviation, airspace, you can start this thing up for considerably less money than what it cost us to start it
6
up,
months.
or would cost anybody else.
It's all set. Compared to airborne, all set.
Well, we've got how many? What, 22 fuselages up there? What's that?
They had, when we shut down, they had 23 complete airplanes built and the detail parts for another 40,
44.
44.
When you took over.
No, when we shut down.
When you shut down.
Those are available now.
Oh, they're still available.
Now, that comes with the purchase. That guy has no claim on that?
No, that's his inventory.
He owns it.
He
Oh,
owns it.
he owns
He
it.
owns it. He was
That
never
doesn't
paid for
come
it,
with
but he
the
owns it.
purchase.
Which guy is that now? I'm sorry.
Kim.
He's in Little,
No,
Ron
Hot
Reagan in
Springs.
Hot Springs,
Hot
Arkansas.
Springs.
Oh, so he hasn't made the final delivery yet. He still has some parts
Right.
there.
Oh, yeah.
So he was holding
Yeah, he
for
sold
for
off
money or-
ailerons and outboard panels and flaps and some of that to Fletcher.
And I'm sure all the wings.
No,
No?
no, they couldn't afford to buy the wings.
Well, if you were to buy all this and you went to him, you could probably make a pretty good deal for those
Oh,
parts.
absolutely, because there's nothing, I mean, they're
He
useless.
could do no more.
He's on waiting to see who's gonna start.
All Fletcher bought was the fast
He
turn
wanted
items.
I believe $148,000 in inventory. What did he had?
No, you mentioned he spent that much for tooling, refurbishing, and no tooling they built for us. And if I understand right, there was an agreement, we pay for a set of bondments, complete fuselage, everything, control surface, And that includes the price for his
Tooling.
tooling.
We paid them on the first 5 ship sets. We paid them $32,500 the ship set.
The tooling that he has up there, that does come with the.
It does
the
come with
purchase.
the purchase, yes.
Now, I have a question there, Bob. We were informed by Ron Reagan that he had still a sizable bill against the tooling of repair and refurbishing work.
He did.
He
had-
expected to get paid before any of that tooling would leave,
He will.
and that was at
That would
140
have to come out of their.
some thousand
That'll
dollars.
come
Yeah,
out of
right,
that.
okay. But I mean, that's something like I say, that would have to be a firm understanding in there that and anything like it
Oh, sure.
be absolved.
They go for the guy down in Atlanta too,
Yeah.
and what he has.
See, that all is involved in the
Mhm.
the 13.5 million price on the 2 lines, because all the vendors will get 100 cents on the dollar out of that price that the court approved for the sale. So really, there are only 2 people with liens on tooling, and that's Ron Reagan, and I think we owe him $98,000. So he'll get his $98,000. And then that tooling's free. We don't have to buy the tooling, the inventory he's had built up over there. All we have to do is pay him what he filed a lien on, which was on the
Right.
books. And the same way with Crestview Aerospace down in Crestview, which has some tooling stored for us. There was a second source to Advanced Engineering out in Wichita that we bought additional tools because of Dennis Hunter's delivery problems.
Or all they have.
Whatever the hard to make parts were that Dennis had trouble getting made, we retooled. It's probably, how many parts down there, Harry, you reckon, 30, 40?
Probably, but there's some other small companies also. For example, the
The Globe has it, too.
aluminum brackets for the main landing gear. They've been made, I don't remember the company now, but they did an excellent job. Chief machining, excellent. I work with them relative to which the sort of parts that have to fit together, put half-inch bolts in, 3/8 bolts and so forth. And I work with them to make all those holes match, and they did.
Talking
All
about
the
forgings.
people on the line did was get the bolt in, not with a hammer, we don't do that. They'll get the bolt in, Cessna does. I understand some years back when our American aviation people went out to look Cessna, they said they ran wing nut bolt in with a torque wrench.
Oh, I can believe it.
We have
Well,
not been out
Globe's
to
got
do
some
that.
tooling.
The parts had to fit.
We've refurbished some Cessnas also,
You also have.
unscrewing what the factory
tooling
screwed up
in,
was the
my
biggest
understanding
problem.
is with,
I used to fly a 172. If you wanted the ball in the middle, you had to hold your foot on the pedal. It would never fly straight.
Well, then it was
Who's that
brake
guy in
properly,
Louisiana?
that all can be done.
In Louisiana?
Came from the factory that way.
that makes the plastic parts.
No, that's in Atlanta.
Georgia,
Was it?
Atlanta. That's Forrest Butler.
Well, he doesn't own the tooling there.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of stuff Forrest says.
We have our own tools there. Since we just touched this subject,
We talked about
I
this
saw
last night.
a Fletcher ad in the Yankee magazine that says you can have all interior parts made on original factory tooling. But where are they? With Allied Plastic, our tools.
Yep, and they
And
make them for Forrest.
He also says we made a little bit thicker, which I did. Remember, went to 75,000.
We know where a lot of tools are at.
Allied Plastics has all that tooling stored in
The interior plastic tooling.
That's a guy in Atlanta. that does
Right,
that.
right.
Yeah.
Believe me, they're using it.
some parts.
Actually, you
Well,
can
they're
go
storing
back
our
and-
tools free.
Right.
Can I see?
Yeah, I wouldn't complain.
Let's go have a look at the other place with the
Okay.
tools and then
Get mine out.
some discussion. How long have you been trying to market it?
They're talking, they're thicker than the original Grumman American.
Of course, it was 62,000, now it's 75. A1 wingwood frame, that's the two-place. Drill fixture for the wingwood frame for the A1. Here's a bond fixture for the upper cowl deck. Wall fixtures for the engine mount. The drill fixture for the canopy glass. The assembly fixture for the cowl. Glass coating fixture for the windshield and the canopy.
It's all that A1 there.
A1, yeah. I put the A1 on this side,
Yeah.
mostly.
Now this hasn't been produced for, when was the last one of the two-place made?
78.
78.
78?
Yeah, you can see it on your chart too. That's the bond fixture for the lower fuselage. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 honeycomb panels. That's why it's so strong.
Yeah.
The honeycomb panels and the carry-through spar on which the pilot and passengers sit.
Yeah.
That's why they stay alive. So this is a vacuum bond fixture. You insert all the individual parts by tooling holes. Very quick. It had to be loaded in 2 hours, by the way, because every 2 hours they pushed it in the oven. Every 2 hours. No, I take it back, 2.5 hours. Then you put a nylon vacuum bag over and you seal it off with natural rubber and pull vacuum. That's the only one of the few vacuum fixtures. One of the only one, really. The rest are air pressure. See, for control surfaces, stabilizer, horizontal, vertical, on the same. And you use air pressures on these silicone air hoses. I was surprised when they came back after being in storage. Most of them worked at ChemFab after 11 years.
This is basically the same way we got our tooling equipment in production.
By the way, this is a new fixture I built. I talked to you guys about for the cowl for the A1. To assemble all the parts and spot weld drill. This is the assembly fixture for the lower fuselage and the upper fuselage. You put the lower fuselage when it's finished in here, and you assemble the canopy, not the canopy, the turtleback.
Turtleback, yeah.
The aft fuselage, and well, that's about it. It's relatively simple. Here we have dies. This one, for example, may cost $5,000 today. You seem to know tooling, huh?
Yeah, I do.
And so it's awfully expensive. The so-called pancake dies are not as expensive. They may cost as much as little as a few $100s.
One of these dies, an example of what you're making with these fit punch press, right?
Yeah, they're all for a punch press.
Yeah.
You could modify a brake press to do it also.
But
Punch press, yeah.
I'm giving you an example of on the airplane, what part do you make?
Well, I would have to take the die apart to figure out what it was.
But you, just say anything that you make with one of these things.
There's some dies which make the plenum, the steel portion of the control surface. You run the control surface, it's punched out with a hard die because you can't do it in a rotor fixture. Or it would be very difficult. Dies are made for that purpose. You see the part number of each part, and this is the tool number. And we have a Gulfstream generated tooling list that shows all the tools that they send us. For example, this is a fixture to form a windshield bow.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, this one is for the A5 series.